Charlotte, this is such an epic role for you. Was there something about Scarlett slash Duchess that made you that appealed to you to be a part of this film?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely everything who she is and what she stands for, just she's just fun. She's just so much fun. Like a big part of this film when we were writing and developing her was how can we make a character, a female character, because this would usually be cast in, a male role in a gangster movie, but how do we make her, and she's an anti-hero, so how do we make her likable, funny, um, tough, relatable, all these things. How do we achieve that? So it was a fine balance of making sure all these things work, but so much fun. So it was one of the funniest roles I've had playing yet. It just came natural to me, and I think part of it because I helped create and write it, the story. Um, but phenomenal. I mean, even Neil said it was one of the funnest scripts he's ever written as well, just because of the outrageousness to the whole project.
I was gonna say you don't look like Jason Statham, but you sure act like that action star.
Uh, yes, that was we were just trying to be as like Neil, if we can be as half as decent as all the classics like Goodfellas and Scarface and Layer Cake, if we can just aim for there and get there, that would be we would have achieved what we wanted to achieve, and is hopefully a great, entertaining roller coaster of a gangster movie.
It is. Was she always meant to have that Cockney accent, or did you guys flesh that out?
No, earlier on, I think Neil kind of was inspired by my background. I kind of come from the Cockney, Southeast London area, and he kind of absorbed into that and was like, "No, let's make her." It was kind of a My Fair Lady story, right? Where you take this girl in her little bubble, her little her fish tank world to this whole journey of this epic underground criminal world, falling in love and betrayal and all these things that she goes through. So that really was the goal to take to and for the audience to be on that journey with her from My Fair Lady to where she becomes at the very end.
The stunt work is epic to this movie. You must have put in the hardest of days. Talk about learning the fight choreography, the boxing, and then how
Yeah.
do you decompress after having to be a badass 99.9% of that day?
I had never boxed before this movie. I'd done some action stuff before in my previous films, but I'd never boxed before. So I had like 2 weeks. The stunt guys were absolutely incredible, but I literally had 2 weeks to rehearse and to go over. It was almost like choreographing a dance scene. This left hook, right hook, uppercut. But one of the hardest days on set was when I was in that boxing ring and Rob McNaughton comes to visit Duchess, and I'm saying all of these chunks of dialogue, and I'm literally trying to remember the dialogue and the. I've never done that before. It was like trying to pat my head and rub my belly at the same time. It was so tough, but we got through it, and as long as I look like I can throw a punch, and I was like that was the thing, because the boxing comes into play later on, which is obviously very important to the story.
Oh, yes. And I have to say, there's such great chemistry between you and Philip Winchester. It's like palpable on screen. Was it there for a chemistry read, or did you all find it when you just started shooting? It was there.
Yeah, we just we I met him a couple of days before filming. He's just he's such a kind, generous actor to work with. Like we had a lot of heavy days together, a lot of tragic scenes, and it just worked. Like he was like the perfect actor for this role. Like he could just do it with his eyes closed. He knew how to fire a gun. He's done all this action stuff before. Like he was just like it was like he was born to play this role. He was just perfect. And we just as like the whole cast really, Philip Winchester, as you said, Sean Pertwee, Stephanie Beecham, Cole Meany, which was absolutely incredible. The whole cast was. We just got very lucky with the cast because I think the script was really solid and the characters were really fun. So I think a lot of people say Sean Pertwee must have had a great time. Like you can just tell he had fun filming this role because his character was fun and the dialogue and the scenes and the scenario, everything was just fun. So yeah, it was just perfect casting all round.
Talk about working then with Neil as a director. Did he give you much room since the three of you and you, Simon, and Neil sort of fleshed out these characters when writing it? Or did you all sort of, did he give you much room to like do your thing since you know what you were doing? Or was he very hands-on and helped you sculpt everything?
The great thing about Neil as a director is he's very on set. He's very relaxed. You know, sets are very chaotic environments. So when the director's chaotic, it can be a disaster. But Neil is very. He lets you, as an actor, he lets you do what you need to do, what you want to do, and then he will make small adjustments. Oh, why don't you try it like this? Try it like that. He'll let you play around with it first, which I love. And then obviously the scenes always change depending on the actors you're working with, and it's always a collaborative experience. So no, Neil let me play around with it. We had quite a lot of time to develop the scenes as well, which was nice, and to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And we did have some rehearsal time with me and Philip, which I think was really important. Um, so yeah, overall it was that's why I've done 4 movies with Neil now. He's absolutely great to work with.
I'm gonna say, I think my favorite scene is where, they're in the car and he just coins the phrase Duchess. I mean, that's, a small moment in the film, but I think it's very palpable because it suits everything. It talks about who you are as this persona now and what you've become. Do you have a scene that you're most proud of the work you put into, or a favorite one that stands out to you?
Hmm. Oh, there's so many great moments.
That
Yeah,
boxing ring
I,
where you're
I kind of,
memorizing
I
is
kind of,
pretty intense too.
I like the scene where at the end where she's kind of sharpening her knife and she says, Duchess was here, and she's like, let's outsmart them. And she's kind of got her new crew around her now. And she's just sitting there on the table. She's gone. She's gone. She's way off now. She's become this very sad, tough, revengeful person at this point. But I love that scene. The third act where she's just full blown out on the revenge path, really. Um, but where she's got her whole crew around her and she's right, we're going to get these guys. That's pretty powerful. That was very fun to shoot as well.
There's so much action. There's a love story in here, though, as well. Is that what you think is going to make it such a fast fan favorite film? I mean, standout movie because there's so much action. There's one moment to the next. You never know if she's going to make it, if she's going to realize that revenge isn't like the end all be all ever again, or is it, a special moment for you that really you think is going to make this movie such a powerful standout?
Well, that's really interesting because a big part of this film, it is a revenge film as well as it being a gangster film and an action film and everything else. And a big part of one of the inspiring films that we watched, a big inspiration for this was Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, because the revenge happened halfway through the movie. A lot of these revenge films now happen within the first 5, 10 minutes, and you don't get to develop the characters, learn to love them, understand them, and so when the revenge happens, it's not very fulfilling. You're just kind of on this journey, but you're not really rooting for the characters as much. That's why for this, Neil really wanted to make sure that we learn to love. Scarlett's an anti-hero, so we really have to be on this journey with her and understand, and hopefully be rooting for her. That's why we took a few moments to show their love, build it, and then when it does get ripped apart, and it's very unexpected, you're really with her on her journey and you're rooting for her and you care about her. So that was a big part that we wanted to make sure. The first act was really about her and Rob and building that love between them.